Welcome to a new episode of the Super Powered Fancast. This is Darren. Critters and fans of Critical Role, this episode is special to me because I got the honor and pleasure of speaking with actor, writer, and lore keeper for Critical Role, Dani Carr. Beyond being the lore keeper for Critical Role, Dani is also the writer of the newly released Chronicles of Exandria, the Mighty Nein Part Two. This second installment follows the adventures of the Mighty Nein as they brave the wilds of Xhorhas, encounter the Kryn dynasty, and the powerful Bright Queen. But this chronicle has a twist as it is told from the perspective of Iva Deshin, writer and owner of the shop Chastity's Nook, as she follows the trail of the Nine and winds up having adventures of her own that broaden her understanding of the world, its people, and its complicated politics. Chronicles of Exandria, the Mighty Nein Part Two is currently available in both hardcover and a deluxe edition that comes with beautiful extras for fans of Critical Role and the world of Exandria. I talked with Dani about the role of a lore keeper, her TTRPG history and experiences, as well as how important the team at Critical Role is in helping her chronicle Matthew Mercer and the cast's ever-evolving and engaging world. We also spoke about some of the charity initiatives she and others are engaging in, as well as the webcomic, The Witch Wolf, that she co-created with her wife, Bree Williams. Links to both the book and where you can donate for the upcoming CharityHeart event Dani is part of will be in the video notes as well as the podcast description. So without further ado, here's my interview with lore keeper Dani Carr. Hi, Dani. It's time.
Oh, great. Perfect.
No, I'm so happy to meet you. I am a huge fan, not only of Critical Role, but you as well.
Oh, thank
So
you.
no, I really appreciate you coming on, and I will be as um in the course of fanboying, I will be as respectful of your time as possible.
Oh my gosh, no worries. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being flexible. I got confused just because of time differences and everything.
Oh no,
Um, and I have a meeting. I have another meeting at 1 for our Beacon Bits
oh
webcomics and everything. So, that one has like multiple people in it, and I was like, "Ooh, I need to. Let me see if I can make this work."
yeah, yeah, no,
So, good.
absolutely.
Apologies for that.
Oh, not at all. I mean, that's it's the whole reason why I wanted to do this, and just talking back and forth was just making sure that I was open and available because I really wanted to talk to you, um, again as a huge fan. But so
Thank you.
I'm absolutely willing to work with schedules at any time.
Well, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Um, well, the first thing I want to say is I know I congratulated you on Instagram. And one, I want to congratulate you for the book, first of
Oh,
all.
thank you.
I also want to congratulate you on your marriage.
Oh, thank you so much.
And the I mean, it's just a lot going on. The 10-year anniversary of Critical Role, um, the everything you guys are doing with the Critical Role Foundation. Just you have a lot going on. So there's a lot to congratulate you for. Again.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a really busy few months. We had the wedding in December, which was beautiful, but it was also really, really fast. And then everything with January, which was just
Yeah.
madness. And I've heard people refer to it as either just 2024 extra or just liminal space where it
Yeah.
does time doesn't count. Either way, January was a little bit of a wash in a lot of ways, but yeah, everything with Darrington, I mean with Critical Role Foundation has been really great. Obviously
Mhm.
Darrington's always great, but everything with Critical Role Foundation has been really great. I'm so proud of the money that we've raised, and I'm really excited to be working with CharityHeart and the Roleplay Relay crew to raise more money for wildfire relief. So, yeah, it's really good. I'm very honored to be able to help out our community in whatever ways I can, because a lot of people lost everything, not just a lot, but everything, and the work is really only just beginning. So it's really help good to be able to give back in whatever ways that we can to help everyone who just from the small to the big. It's important to lean into that community right now.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've always appreciated about what you guys do is beyond just building the community around the game is that you all reach out outside of it to communities around you and all over the world as well. And it's one of those admirable things where you think, where I mean, again, as someone who's been watching for a while, I'm like, these people seem cool, and it's like, oh, these people are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing a
Um,
thing.
Thank you. Yeah, as someone who was a fan of the show when it started, and was a fan before I was working here. I remember the one of the original charities that we were working with was or was 826 LA,
Mhm.
and I remember when I moved to LA in January of 2017. The first place I went accidentally was 826 LA because I happened to go explore Echo Park with my brother, and we were walking around in Echo Park, and we stumbled upon 826 LA, and I was so excited to actually see the time travel mart and actually get to thank them and get to give money to them directly because of the work I'd seen on Critical Role for so long. So that was really exciting for me, and it all ended up coming full circle. So
Uh, that's great. And just kind of rolling into like one of the first questions I have, Liz, you saying that you've been a fan of the show before you started with it. Do you have like a history with TTRP RPGs? Was it something that you played as a kid? And kind of what was your journey to that genre, the game itself?
That actually is an interesting story. I mean, well, I don't know how interesting it is, but I didn't play them when I was a kid. I was all just like I focused entirely just on make believe as a
Mhm.
kid. Like I vividly remember, like was obsessed with the Lord of the Rings movies. My dad read The Hobbit to us when my siblings and I were kids. It was like our bedtime story. And I like so when the Lord of the Ring and my dad was a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and so he took us to the movies every single time one of them came out. It was a big deal. And so I remember being little and like pretending to like to be an elf and all of these things. And I actually remember when the first Dungeons and Dragons movie, the one with Jeremy Irons, came out when I was like 10. I loved it. And I think that was the year I was like a sorceress for Halloween. And like, I filled this bag that my aunt made me out of a Crown Royal bag, with like glitter and like would throw it and be like, I'm casting spells and things. Um, but I didn't get into TTRPGs until I was a little older when I was about like 19 or 20,
Mhm.
maybe a little older than that. I don't remember quite. Because some friends of mine actually were running a game called, I don't know if you've heard of this, called Torg.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they got me into playing that with, I'd always been interested because I always thought that I was really neat. I was like, oh my God, it's a game where you make believe. And I was an actress I was an actress. I have a BFA in theater performance. And so I was always like, this is the best of both worlds. And but I didn't get into it until I was older. And it was actually my old theater director from high school got me into playing Torg with him and some of our other friends. And and then I started playing every once in a while with my friends. Farmer and Scotty had a D&D game, and they brought me. Actually, it was a Pathfinder game, and so then I started playing Pathfinder every once in a while as a witch, and then got into CR
Mhm.
around when that all started. So it was actually Torg and then Pathfinder, and then I think it was like first edition D&D because my brother-in-law played D&D, and so he ran a game for my family,
Mhm.
and but he was like an OG D&D guy, and so he ran us through a first edition module, which we all died. We fully TPK'd. It was hilarious. Um, and then I played 3.5 with a friend, just a little bit. And yeah, I didn't play, and then started playing fifth edition with some friends online, because of Critical Role. Back then, a bunch of critters got together, and we all started playing online games together. And that was a game called that we called Half-Assed Crew, because we were all like, I think we were all, or at least most of us were. Like we had a half elf and we had a halfling and we had
Mhm.
a couple of other
Like
races
halfling.
that
Yeah,
were,
yeah.
yeah, that were like other like half elves and like half orcs, and that was it. It was half orc, and so we called ourselves the half-assed crew. um, and yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Had some wonderful friendships from that, and yeah, so it was just really fell in love with it. And I got into Critical Role because I wanted to be a voice actor, and so was already following a bunch of the cast online, and then saw they were like, we're gonna play D&D, and I was like, oh, I like D&D, and so decided to start watching it, and the rest is history.
I mean, there's so many interesting parallels in what you said, like just to my growing up as well. Like I played D&D. I was a theater kid in high school, and
Yeah.
my friends and I played D&D, and then well, then took a 30-year break after I graduated. But my oldest, I started watching CR, and my oldest started asking me about D&D, and I started playing like with him a little bit, and now he's 18 now, and he's
Oh,
playing his
wow.
own game. And then like I was reading The Hobbit to my I'm reading The Hobbit to my 10-year-old right now.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. And sorry to say he's finding it a little boring, but
Oh, that's okay.
but I mean he's a superhero kid. He
That's
loves
fine. That's
Spider-Man.
fine.
But he's gotten into it as well, into D&D, just hearing me and his brother talk about it. So
Hmm.
now I'm literally now running a game for the two of them and
I
their
love
cousins.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best. I every once in a while I run a little game for my mom, my sister, and my
Mhm.
niece who is 9.
Yeah.
And it's mostly for her, but like but she needed somebody else to play with, so my sister plays, and then we roped my mom into playing, and because we're all separated, so it's kind
Yeah.
of a nice way to like kind of see each other. And so I run a little game for her, and she's hilarious. I remember, I think it was the first or second game that I played. Again, she's 9 years old, and
Mhm.
just the wildest, or the greatest imagination in the entire world. I'm obsessed with her. And I was like, okay, you have to get into this house, and there's two guards, and yeah, I taught my 9-year-old how to break into a house.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's two guards, and they're walking around the house, so you have to figure out how to get in. And she was like, I pull out black spray paint from my backpack and I spray the security cameras. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, I don't need to teach you anything. You are already on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my again, it's my youngest. We're trying to get him to, we're at him and his cousin are at the town master's house, and he only passes notes through the door. He doesn't want to come out because there's a dragon around. And I'm like, well, you have to get the note from the town master. So my 10-year old, who's a rogue, goes up and decides he's going to knock down the door with an axe. And when he
Oh,
can't get through the door, he just runs away. I was just
oh my
like,
gosh.
okay, that's certainly a way to get his attention.
That is an avenue. That is
Yeah.
a path you can go down.
But then along those lines, do you like homebrew your games, or are there any kind of modules that you like to play on your own?
I'm very loosey-goosey. I am the
Mhm.
opposite of a rules lawyer,
Yeah.
which I think is funny for being a lore keeper.
Yeah.
I think people would be really surprised to hear that, but it's honestly because I'm tired and I have no time. And so anytime I run a game, and also I'm running for a 9-year-old, so I'm not trying to like make sure that she's like following the rules to the letter. I'm
Right.
mostly just teaching her how to like access her imagination and then like
Hmm.
use it in different ways and stuff like that. So, but in general, whenever I run games, I'm very much like, so what's the vibe we're going for? And I love to make items. I love to like I think I made her a music box that if she like t it could be a trap where like if you wound it up it would it in like and placed it somewhere it could basically it was like a hypnotic pattern where like
Right.
if people stumbled upon it they would be charmed for like a minute and they you could like sneak past them and stuff like that. Um and yeah, I love items and I
Mhm.
love because I just think that I'm always like I always love getting items in games and I just think that they're so fun and so I really love being able to like give trinkets to my
Yeah.
players and be like you get this cool thing that I made special for you and stuff like that. It's my own kind of little like love letter to people to be like I made you this little present and it's I didn't actually make it with my hands, but I wrote you a whole thing about
Right.
it.
It's like, here's this cool thing I think you would love,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
here's how I can give it to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way. I'm very kind of loose with it. Like I'm playing and again, this both CR's influence and my oldest son's influence because he was like,
Hmm.
Dad, you're teaching us how to play. Like, why don't you play again
Hmm.
as a player? And I was like, I thought about it, and I was, watching CR and Dimension 20, and I, got into a game. Now I'm playing Curse of Strahd with a group out of England, and
Same.
yeah, and so like well, we just had a very tense dinner with the Count himself last week. So
We haven't had a dinner yet, but I play in a Curse of Strahd game with Liam as my GM and
cool.
I accidentally kind of flipped the table on a bunch of things. We went to the Amber Temple and I touched the wrong item and kind of had my character's whole brain rewritten. And she ended up just kind of storming the castle and being a brat and like making Strahd like and like forcing Strahd essentially to like talk to her and was just like, "Hey, I'm here. Let's have a conversation."
Yeah.
And so we haven't had a dinner yet with everybody, but I definitely like forced a confrontation that I fully almost died from.
Well, every week we're like, I guess this is the week we're gonna TPK, and
Yeah.
so and then when we get out of it, it's just so much fun to say, oh, I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
Um, but then
Um, yeah, it's the best. Sorry,
yeah,
continue.
oh, I'm sorry, no, but then along those lines, just kind of even kind of transitioning into your role as a lore keeper, um, like how do you? And I don't want to ask questions that I'm sure you've probably answered before, but I ask questions really from my own curiosity, and if
Yeah, of
people
course.
connect with it, that's fine. But do you find anything difficult about kind of keeping the lore for, like, Matt's creating a world that's constantly changing and evolving,
Hmm.
and it's based on the characters' actions, and that's one of the things again I love about it, this the immersive storytelling about it. But are there things that you kind of find even in the keeping the lore, the things like I don't know if this is important, but it might be, so I might as well just jot it down anyway, or
Hmm.
yeah, like how is like how kind of how I'm not asking how the job works, but kind of what are some of the advantages and disadvantages to it?
Well, one of the advantages is having just the incredible cast and Matt as the as this leader. Um, they know what they're doing. And so it's really easy to trust them and to essentially I've actually been talking about this with my amazing junior Lord Keeper Jared.
Mhm.
Jared Darrow, he is my right hand and been
I
talking about
asked
how
you,
it
we
really
obviously have to have help.
yes. I didn't for a really long time and then we hired Jared a couple years ago and he's been I love Jared. But I so I was talking with him about this and it really is developing an ear for knowing knowing how they play and knowing how Matt works in terms of like what is going to be important versus what is probably just a just flavor.
Mhm.
Um And so I don't typically, like a lot of times I don't typically write down like whenever there's lots of description of an area, I don't typically write that down except to be like they're in the mountains and it's snowy. Um just to and that's about it. Um and I but then like if we need to like go back and it's like, oh well, we're designing something that took place in this mountain area. That's when I'll typically go back less to my notes but more to the transcripts, be like,
Mhm.
okay, what exactly did Matt say? Because we have such an amazing team that it allows me to be able to go back and look at this transcript or to look at one of our campaign guides where we've fleshed out these areas more. Um, and then with other things, it's also so it's really just being able to rely on this amazing team with the founders and the cast and with the people who work at CR with me, to know that we're all kind of taking care of each other. And so wanting to and so not wanting to, sorry, I got distracted. So hoping that if I don't write it down in the moment, I'll at least be able to find it.
Right.
And because I have a really, really good memory, so it also is helpful because then I can be like, oh, they visited this either in episode 112 or 113, so let me go back to those and I can check my recaps real fast and then I'll be like, okay, it was 113 and then I can go to that transcript, then I can find the exact moment. I can pull that description and even though I didn't write down every single word that was said,
Hmm.
that we already have that based on our caption teams and based on our editors, and then I can supply that information to everybody else. So again, it really is it's a team effort. Um, I can't do what I do as well be without everybody else who works at CR.
Right.
And so that is a positive. Then like I guess like a disadvantage is just again trying to develop that ear. There's definitely things that I've missed and needed to go back and be like, I did not expect this to be important. What the
Mhm.
heck was this? Stuff like that. But again, that's access to the videos, that's access to the transcripts. I always say that they're essentially writing my textbook
Right.
every single week because what I am at the end of the day is a historian.
Mhm.
And so they're making the primary source for me to study with every shoot.
Right.
And so what I'm trying to do is just keep track of it all and make sure that luckily it doesn't disappear.
Right.
And it's not like it's gone forever the moment that they say it and then no one ever can hear it again. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of grace for going back and double checking and triple checking. I'm a huge fan of measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
And so it's like if I'm 90% sure of something, or even if I'm 100% sure, I'll still double check
Right.
because just in case I missed something, just in case I'm confusing something else, and because I'm obviously not infallible, and so you always want to triple check and just to make sure that and just utilize the resources that we have because again it's all about that amazing group, the amazing team that we have that allows everything to happen. um so yeah, that's kind of the both of the positive and the negative is that sometimes you have to what you think you're grabbing might not always be the right thing and then you have to kind of go back and double check and make sure that you're actually right and things like that. So
Then along those same lines, like, are there ever pieces of information that maybe that you hear from Matt that might be more important than that the players don't know? Like, do you kind
mhm.
of have those? Like, I mean, I'm not, asking to spoil, but like, does Matt ever has Matt ever pulled you aside and said, "Well, this is a little more important than they realize at this
Yeah.
point." Yeah.
Very rarely, but every once in a while. Sometimes I'll ask him and be like, especially like does this need to be like if there's a thread that we're not really exploring or if there's an item or something that it seems like isn't getting the attention or is starting to get the attention, I'll go to him and be like, "Hey, what else do I need to know about this thing just so that I can keep track of it?" And he'll say like, "Oh, it's this," or something like that. Or sometimes it's beats that are to come. Like he'll give me a little bit, sometimes he'll give me a little bit of a peek behind the curtain just to be like, I know I'm going to send them to EOS or something like that, or something along those lines of just being like, we're probably going to go and meet up with this group or something like that.
Hmm.
That's the goal. If that goal happens, that is up to the players.
Right.
But I'll know like, okay, or at least I'll know, especially this year, I mean, not this year, this campaign, we really started working on that
Yeah.
together, where I was able to go to him and say, hey, if you can just give me a little bit of a heads up, just because it's going to be easier on my end
Yeah.
to, again, be able to track what is actually the important aspect of this, because he
Mhm.
might list four different factions in something, but only two of them are the important ones. And
Right.
so it's the other, so two of them, I'm just going to know that they exist. And the other two, I'm like, okay, there's NPCs already. There's stuff going on with these already.
Mhm.
Um, because what I don't think a lot of people realize is how much is sort of done on the fly.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it is obviously like Matt is a genius, and he's able to, and he does a lot of prep and works for ages on a lot of things, but the players throw more curveballs at him than I
Yes.
think people realize. And so he has to kind of pivot on a lot of things to kind of bring them either back to where he was kind of wanting, or reworking something to work for what they want to do. And so yeah, it is a situation where it's a lot of thinking on his feet. So there isn't a whole lot sometimes that he can share before it happens, which
Right.
is why the stream really is the text,
Yeah.
because there's only so much that he can give me beforehand,
Hmm.
because a lot of times it might go out the window.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be beholden to something that was only ever a theory, to something that was only,
Hmm.
well, not a theory, because obviously scientific theories are very important, but or to something that was only ever an idea.
Hmm.
Hi, Yaga. Sorry, my dog has decided that she's gonna bark at folks. Um, and so it's more important what happens on the stream. It's more important what actually ends up being realized rather than what might have also been planned in other ways. And then it's in things like the campaign guides or something like that, where we can
Hmm.
explore like these three NPCs that Matt had written up in these shops or lurking in the background that we never got to, or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
And that's something that again I enjoy about CRs because I'm kind of like I've watched like all three campaigns. I've watched like pretty much everything, and I in campaign two I enjoyed Ludinus as a character, and then just kind of
mhm.
like okay, well he's the guy they're investigating. He's the head of the Cerberus Assembly and all that, and then to have him be the big bad of campaign three was like
Mhm.
okay, I got to go back to campaign two and see like is are
Right?
they hot dropping hints about anything, and then even kind of like I'm kind of like like Travis, I kind of fell into the Malaeus mirror kind of
Uh-huh.
bog as well. It's like there's got to be something there to Malaeus mirror, but even going along those lines, when you're talking about NPCs, was there like a thought process behind having Iva Deshin from Chastity's Nook as the writer for Chronicle for Mighty Nein Part Two?
So that one was that is, I believe, all Liam. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was all Liam. He is kind of our director of he doesn't have this as a title, but he's kind of our director of like graphic novels and comics and books and things like that. He's our go guy there. And our licensing manager, Shawnette, they're kind of the forces behind those. So in the first Chronicles of Exandria Mighty Nein, we had it be from the perspective of Bo, sending notes to the Cobalt Soul. And then for the second one, I know that I think they wanted to pivot because they like being able to pivot to different things to showcase different aspects of the world.
Hmm.
And so Liam, I think, just really f thought that that character was fun, and wanted to do it from her perspective because she's a writer and she obviously had met the Mighty Nein, and
Hmm.
so thought it would be fun to have her come back and be writing about these heroes that she met. And so then they brought me in because they obviously I had written co-written the first Chronicles of Exandria Mighty Nein with Taliesin. And so they were like, well, let's give you this book entirely, and you can write Iva's perspective, try, writing about the Mighty Nein. And
Hmm.
so we came up with a few different ideas. I think that there was one where it was like set in the future and she was interviewing Caleb was like an idea where he was a professor and she was like getting a lot of information from him.
Hmm.
And then I thought it was funny if she was following them the whole time and just kept being like 2 days behind them like the whole time. So she never actually got to like actually meet them. And then if for anybody who has read the book, mild spoilers, but then she does have an opportunity to actually like get to talk to them, and she totally like is like, I can't do it. Never mind. I'm scared. But it allowed her to talk to NPCs, like Yusa, and talk to other people. Because like there's so many times that I think about this, especially when I'm playing a game, where it's like we're just talking about the things that have happened to us, like openly in this bar. Who is just listening to us right now?
Right.
And I always thought that would be really funny if like there's somebody who's been tracking them this whole time that they have no idea. And so yeah, and she's just plucky and she's just able to sort of just keep following them, and like Jester has been leaving graffiti everywhere. So she's able to just be like, "Oh, I found another dick.
Right.
I guess they're over here."
I think that's.
So
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, no, it's fine. Yeah, I was basically done. Just yeah, being able to allow this character who showed this spark of creativity and ingenuity to sort of pick up that trail and be able to sort of follow, even if it's always a few steps behind.
Right. And that's one of the things. Like when I read it, and one of the things I put into my review, one of the reasons I loved it so much was because not only are we getting these adventures from a different perspective, but we're kind of going back to these NPCs that are, in my mind, all memorable in their own
Hmm.
way, but also the fact that in chronicling the adventures of the Mighty Nein, she's not only having her own adventure, but which her own original adventure, but that adventure is kind of changing her and changing her perspective and
Hmm.
involving her, and it's like taking the world beyond. Okay, well, I know this happened. I knew this happened. I knew where she was going. Oh, and that, but seeing it from a different perspective, and it's one of the things I appreciated about it. Was that one of the things that you kind of wanted to make sure was a part of it, that you didn't want to just be, writing out almost a diary. You kind of wanted to explore the character some
Very
more.
much. Yeah, very much. I wanted her to have a proper like I wanted her to have an arc.
Right.
Um, And I wanted her to be able to have a place where she started and a place where she ended, and they were two different places, not
Mhm.
physically, emotionally.
Right.
Because it was important to me that she not that it was important to me that this book not just be this incredibly beautiful collection of art, but that you care about the perspective and
Yeah.
that you care about the person that's giving this to you. Because she does have that sort of perspective of a fan, I really wanted to let her speak for at least speak on her own experiences of how the Mighty Nein and essentially Critical Role changed her life too, and allow critters and fans to read her journey and see themselves in it and be like, oh, I also was inspired to kind of go on my own adventures and go and take charge of my own life and realize that, oh, if I want to write a book, I should just write a book, and I should leave and I should travel and I shouldn't just do this one thing that I decided was what I do. I can grow, I can change. And so I really wanted to, like I've said for ages that this is really a love letter to the cast and to the Mighty Nein, and that was very much the guiding light the whole time, was not just a love letter to the Mighty Nein, but to the fans as well,
Mhm.
who have seen these journeys and who have seen these stories and loved them and cherished them and allowed them into their lives to have that, to take hold and have that inspiration propel them forward. And so I just really wanted to have her go on this journey and to also recognize when it was time for her to stop.
Right.
For her to be like, okay, I got what I needed. I don't have to keep going on this path. I can now take what I've done and take this adventure I've gone on and make something out of it. Um, because I also don't think that there is anything wrong with having a stopping point and being like, okay, I had my adventure. It is now time to go back to my bookshop that I love and go back to my brother and his cat that I have adopted and actually write this book and actually take this time. Because I feel like it's important to show the journey and also to show the journey's end.
Yeah.
Because Iva is just this one person, and she never got an adventuring party or anything like that. It really was her the whole time, this Jessica Fletcher, Lois Lane character who was just kind of like, I'm just gonna keep going, and I'm gonna go until I stop.
Right.
Um, and so it was important for me to show that it's also okay whenever it's time for the journey to end, for the journey to end.
Yeah.
And for then to have the next part of the journey, whatever it is, and whatever you need it to be. But I really was so happy with how her adventure ended up for her. Like, she made friends in all of these different places, and she learned so much and learned so much more about the world than the
Mhm.
Dwendalian Empire would allow her. And really to let this person who's living in a world of propaganda to go to the Kryn dynasty and to go and meet people that she never would have met, and to realize, oh, this is completely false, what I've been told,
Right.
and things like that. And she has to be really careful about it because she's still trying to get a book published in the Donalian Empire. Um,
Yeah.
but to start to see and start to be able to seed in those aspects of resistance
Mhm.
within her own world, within what she can do now is, okay, so now it's going to be really hard to track the Mighty Nein now that they're on the water. So now it is time to go back home. Now it is time
Right.
to write this book. I need people to know what I know, because that is what's going to allow us to continue to foster good relations with our neighbors. The war is over, and now we need to do the work. And she was now ready to do the work and to spread the work that she had done to the people in the Dudalian Empire, to hopefully start breaking apart those propaganda cracks and start widening them, and healing any sort of breaches, because that's what art does, and that
Yeah.
is what creativity does. It allows us to see the world in ways that we never imagined, and I
Right.
think she was a really great example of that. Of somebody who had an open heart and was able to travel and realize that things she'd been told her whole life, like to be afraid of, weren't
Mhm.
scary at all.
Right.
And then to be able to go back, write this, hopefully get it published, and show other people, hey, we don't have to be afraid, is, I think, one of the bravest things that you can do.
Yeah, and it's again one of the reasons I enjoy the book so much was because just even in real life, I don't think you can ever chronicle something without it in some way changing who you are or changing something about you. And if it doesn't, then you really didn't get anything out of the experience in the first place. So
Right.
I just kind of definitely got that from reading the book and seeing her progression from like uh, being giddy and fearful, but then introspective and angry and all
Hmm.
of these things. There's just so many uh, different emotions that made the story so much more than just this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. It wasn't a recap. It really was a great story, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm so honored that to know that it touched you in that way and that you got it. I'm so glad.
Well, thank you. I'm always grateful when someone when I get something. It doesn't happen often, but I just when I do, I hold on to it because I'm like, you know what, I got it now.
No, no, no. You truly nailed it. I didn't want her to remain stagnant.
Right.
Um, I wanted her to be changed. I wanted her to be changed in a way that made her want to change others too. And I'm so grateful that it was something that you and hopefully others were able to pick up on and enjoy. So thank you. I'm so glad.
Thank you for that as well. To just kind of wrap things up, are you are I mean, beyond chronicling everything that's going on, uh,
Mhm.
beyond being the lore keeper, are there any other projects you're working on yourself personally? I know about I've watched like your Instagram posts. I see like the witch wolf that you're working
Yes.
on with your wife.
Yes.
What can you tell me about? Because I love the artwork, so I just kind of
Thank
really
you.
want to ask you about.
So The Witch Wolf is a webcomic that my wife and I create together. My wife, Bree Williams,
Mhm.
is a phenomenal artist. And so they draw every single thing that you see, do all the lettering, all of the art, and I write it. We it's entirely our own little world of witches and werewolves and vampires and a magic forest and all of these things. And so it is a webcomic that publishes every full moon. And it is entirely about these witches that are these three sister witches who are attempting to keep the balance of magic in this very magical forest, and protect the creatures that live within it. And they're sort of caught in between this very nebulous piece between the
Mhm.
vampires and werewolves. Um, and they both have feelings for two of the werewolves, but they're not allowed to act on it because otherwise then that would null the peace that's happening. They're meant to be a neutral party.
Mhm.
And but then there's this a vampire also is interested in one of the sisters, and so it's it's all very tenuous
Mhm.
and so it's essentially we start with one of the werewolves sort of being like, okay, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. And being like and essentially deciding that he doesn't want to remain in this nebulous space anymore and that it's not actually helping anyone and sort of the domino effect of what happens when someone decides to take a stand. Um and it is very much still in the setting of the chessboard right now,
Mhm.
but it is going to be a long project. It should take us until at least 2029, I think. That's just how webcomics work, is that it's a story of that it's just a story that gets told slowly.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we're still really in the early stages of it all, but I am so in love with this project. It's so much fun. I love working with my wife. Um, and getting to tell this story, especially in this time, and in the world that we are now, is more important than ever. I think that we realize how incredibly I hate using the word important again, but my brain is fried. It's how important it is to rely on our communities
Right.
and to not shut people out.
Yeah.
And that because it is that's the only way that we're going to survive is by investing in the people around us
Right.
and the love that we have for each other. Um, And so it feels like a really important story to tell right now. It's also very queer. Everyone is bi or gay or gay, and because it's a very made by two very queer people. So and very supernatural. It's going to get into some gothic horror elements. So I've been saying that it's definitely rated R or M for mature, depending on how people like to have their rating system. But we're trying to be really good with our content warnings and sort of be like, hey, we're starting to get into the nasty bits. So be cautious. It's okay to wait until next full moon if you need to not read this one. It's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that'll always be it's really important to me to always be trying to take care of our audience and to make sure that whenever we do deal with the heavier topics, that people are aware and can kind of read at their own caution and stuff like that.
Right.
But right now we're still
So
in
kind of
the
the building phase, like the work
yes,
of
the
building.
building phase. Right now, the two of our characters are really happy and nothing could
Mhm.
possibly go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Are
Um,
there any CR specific projects that you're working on for the anniversary that you can
Ooh,
talk about? Like if you
I
can't
don't
talk
think I
about
can
it,
talk about any of
then
it yet. I will say my big one already came out. So Chronicles of
Mhm.
Exandria has come out, and so if anybody hasn't picked that up, please pick it up. Please enjoy. Please
Oh,
review it online.
there will be links in in everything that I put out with this interview, so
Um,
they can find it.
And Stories Untold is an anthology series that
Hmm.
we have announced and I believe has just come out. Has some amazing stories in it from amazing writers like Marty Cahill and Kendra Wells and Sam Maggs and Nibidi Sen. They and I had a hand and I had a hand in all of them editing and keeping the lore for. So there's a lot of really fun stuff that's coming, and I can't talk about it all, but I know that I probably at least passed my eyes over all of it, if not had a direct hand in helping it exist.
Yes,
That's the nice thing about being the lore keeper at Critical Role is that I kind of get to have my hands in all of the pies, which is a
mhm.
really gross analogy now that I think about it. Um, ugh. Um, in making all of the pies, let's say that. I think I'm kind of a sous chef in that way. And you might not know that I prepared ingredients for every dish that was made, but I did.
Right.
So I like being able to sort of have a hand in everything that we make and add specific flavor and ensure that it's up to the standard of everything that we make because we work so hard to ensure that our community is well taken care of in terms of our art.
Yeah.
We everything that we make is delivered with the same level of love. I've been watching a lot of Hell's Kitchen lately, and so I feel like I'm doing a lot
There's
of
a
like
lot of
cooking
food analogies.
metaphors. I promise it's not that I'm just hungry.
Not
Um,
at all.
so apologies for that. It's just
Mm-mm.
Gordon Ramsay is just like yelling in my
That's
brain right now.
absolutely fine. So then along those lines, the non-spoilery first impressions of Tusk Love, because I've already pre-ordered it.
Oh
So
my God. Okay, so I have read Tusk Love now, probably I think this is my fifth time now, because I've been working with our amazing author Thea on it since day one.
mhm.
And boy howdy y'all, I cannot wait for people to read this because it is so good. It's so good. It's so good. I think it's a really great gateway to romance novels for people who have been interested but are a little like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I should be reading Harlequin romance
Right.
novels and
And just
things
tell
like
people,
that.
oh no, this is a critical
No,
role.
this is
Yeah.
this is just a little fantasy story. Um, but yeah, so it's really fantastic. Thea has done an amazing job. The Dundalian Empire and the Menagerie Coast just really come alive in her hands. Like they feel like real places, and that's actually the thing I love the most about it is it's one of our first, not our first, but one of our first books that has really just dived into what it is like to live there. Um, and especially because it's not from the perspective of characters that we
We
know.
know.
Like obviously all of our other novels, Kith and Ken, not, the our Lucian's
Nine
Nine
lives. Yeah. Mhm.
yes, Nine Eyes, and then I always want to say it's either Nine Lives or Nine Eyes, and I
I
mess
would
it
say
up
it's
every
not
single
nine.
time.
Yeah,
It's Nine Eyes,
nine eyes
but
works.
I almost always say Nine Lives, and I'm
Yeah.
like, he is not a cat. Um, but all of our books have obviously taken place in there, but you've had that character to who
Right.
you already know. And whereas this one, you're really able to just kind of live in, to
Mhm.
really live in the skin of Guinevere and Oscar and see those worlds, and also what it would be like having to write a book that is popular in the Dwendalian Empire. Um, and I getting to explore that aspect of it as well has just been really fulfilling, been really fun. Um, but yeah, and also it's very steamy, and there's lots of and I think that everyone is going to fall in love with both Oscar and Guinevere, because they're fantastic characters. They're both very, very romantic, and as with any good romance novel, hopefully everyone ends it just being like, oh, Oscar, he's just so perfect. Because he's the best boy.
Well, to to close out is two things. One, I absolutely want to hear you as the voice of Iva in the Mighty Nine animated. I have to. I'm putting that request in now, just because
Tell Sam.
I will. I will blow up his social media, just like Danny needs to be the voice of Iva but also, one of the other things that I saw, and this is recent on your Instagram, is Charity Heart. Oh, is there
Yes.
anything you wanted to talk about with that?
So that is I'm not sure when this will be going up, but we're doing a
Probably
session
Monday.
zero. Oh, great. So we're doing a session zero for Charity Heart on Monday, March 3rd. That
Mhm.
is going to have me and Clarice Polaris and Jasmine Villar, and I believe Nerdy Nightly, to sort of start figuring out this world that we're going to be playing in. There's an amazing cast for all these different dates throughout the month of March, and I will be playing in a game on March 12th. Um, so you'll be able to see the character that I built that I build on in that session zero actually play in the game on the 12th, and the whole time we're going to be raising funds for Critical Role Foundation and for wildfire relief efforts in different with different organizations in the SoCal area.
Mhm.
And you can check out the Tiltify link that I am sure you'll be linking below.
Yeah, I will have all of these. I absolutely have all of
Yes,
these
it'll be
links.
here or here or here or somewhere within the region. Um, and I so sorry, yes, but it'll be on the Darrington Press YouTube and the Roleplay Relay YouTube. And so you'll be able to catch that on all these different dates, which I can't remember. I think it's March 3rd, 10th, 12th, and 17th, and then the finale is on the 19th. And we don't know yet who all is going to be in the finale. I don't know how they decide that. I assume it's whoever is alive. But we're really excited. It'll be my first time playing Daggerheart streamed, so I'm very nervous. But it's also been the first time that I've played on a stream in a while. So again, very nervous, but very excited. I will happily do anything I can to get eyes on all of these wonderful organizations who are doing such great work in the area. So yeah, it's really important, and I'm really honored to be part of it and to be helping facilitate whatever we can. So if anybody wants to watch and donate, then they can just check out Charity Heart with Darrington Press and Role Play Relay.
All right. Well, once again, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
I'm hugely appreciative, and again, as a huge fan, I'm grateful that you took the time to speak to me. And I'm going to be in Chicago at C2E2, and I
Oh,
will be going.
fantastic.
Yeah, and I will be going to my first CR live show
Have so
um,
much fun.
that Thursday. So which I'm absolutely looking forward to. But if you wanted people to follow you on social media, I know a lot of people are kind of hit or miss with that. But if you wanted them to,
Yeah.
like, where can they find you?
I am It's Dani Carr on Blue Sky and on Tumblr, and I am This Dani Carr on Instagram. And if you want to check out stuff for the Witch Wolf, you can follow the Witch Wolf on Tumblr and the.witch.wolf on Instagram. So any of those, you can find me, and I am around. I don't use Twitter anymore, so but I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram and Tumblr, and those are the easiest places. So.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was truly a pleasure. And again, thank you so much for all of your wonderful questions and for even being interested in chatting with me. It's always a pleasure.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm again grateful that you wanted to speak to me. Like I like I started doing this really just because, not necessarily because I wanted, an audience to see it. I mean, it's a good perk, but it was really more for me. It was just like somebody creates something that I enjoy, and I just want to talk to them about it and just kind
Yeah.
of understand, like, where did where did it come from, why do you love it, and just kind of
Hmm.
find that kind of community within. And I, again, thank you so much for your time. I know you have other things to do, so if you need to, we can go ahead and hear. Like I said, I'm gonna be working. Well, I got first start tomorrow. I'm gonna be working on this all weekend, and I should have it out Monday morning,
Great.
and with all the links and everything, and I will email you more than likely that Monday with everything.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. It truly was an absolute pleasure, Darren. I really appreciated getting to chat with you. And thank you for such a wonderful review. It made my whole week whenever I read it, and I was so grateful to have somebody who understood it so much. And I'm really glad that I was able to chat with you about it because it really meant a lot to me. And so I really appreciate it.
Well, here's the thing: it's always easy to write about things that are good. Because it's just easier. If I enjoy something, it's just a lot easier for me to write about it and say, this is why, and this is why you should check it out.
There you go. Well, again, thank you so much, and it was an absolute pleasure.
Same here. Thank you.
Of course. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Once again, I want to thank Dani Carr for taking the time to be on the Fancast. I know I thanked her many times during the interview, but there's no rule that says gratitude has to have a limit. The Chronicle of Exandria, the Mighty Nein Part Two, is currently available in stores, and you can check out my spoiler-free review on my website. You can also find me on Instagram at Super Powered Fancast, on Twitter at Super Powered Fan, on Blue Sky at Super Powered Fan, or on TikTok at Super Powered Fancast. So once again, I want to thank Dani Carr, and let me know what you think of the episode in the comments below. You can always email me, superpowerfancast@gmail.com. And until next time, this is Darren, signing off.